I didn't grow up with classic Resident Evil. No nostalgia, no childhood memories of fixed camera angles, no emotional attachments to what this series used to be. So when I say this, it's not coming from loyalty, it's coming from experience. Resident Evil Requiem is one of the most effective horror experiences I've played in years. Not perfect, not flawless, but unforgettable. Hello there, my name is Bear, and this is the final verdict of Resident Evil Requiem. I think it's important to say this up front. If you're a long-time Resident Evil fan, this game probably hits differently. There are callbacks, references, moments designed to echo the past, and I'll be honest, some of those sadly didn't land for me the way that they might have for you. Not because they're bad, but because I don't have that history. I'm not seeing a return or a callback. I'm seeing a design, and that gives me a different lens, because where some players see nostalgia, I see intention. In my last video, I called this game a flawed masterclass, and I stand by that. The long walks back to manage inventory are still there, the slow lethargic movement can feel counterintuitive, the continuity between cutscenes and gameplay, and yes, Grace is still slow, still vulnerable, still frustrating at times. But after finishing the game, those things don't feel like problems anymore. They feel like boundaries, and those boundaries shape the experience. Though somewhat controversially, as classically cool and badass as Leon is, I personally preferred the Grace segments. I may not know Resident Evil lore, but I do know horror, and the Grace portions of the game were a breath of fresh air when it comes to classic psychological horror. Not because anything different was done, but how it was executed. What Resident Evil 9 does so well is take classic horror design and bring it into a modern context. Locked doors, keys, backtracking, resource management, these are old, played out ideas, but here they feel refined and purposeful, more intentional, more cohesive, less gamey. Progression doesn't feel like padding, it feels like discovery. And that's a hard balance to strike in modern horror, where so many games either overguide you or have you chasing your tail to the point of frustration. Requiem walks that line carefully. But mechanics aren't why this game stays with you, it's the moments. Those moments where you stop moving, where your brain takes half a second to process what you're seeing, and then it hits you. A figure where there shouldn't be one. A sound that doesn't match the space. A reveal of an area that takes your breath away, like the wide shot going into Raccoon City. There were points where I just sat there, mouth open. Not because the game was loud, but because it was precise. It knew exactly when to hold back, and exactly when to strike. That's not random horror like so many other titles fall into, constantly forcing artificial fear at the player as much as possible. Instead, it's controlled design. Nobody could argue that this is one of the best looking horror atmospheres in recent memory, but not just because of the graphical fidelity alone, it's the lighting. Shadows that feel heavy, darkness that feels intentional, spaces that feel lived in and then corrupted. Light isn't just visibility, it's tension, it's filled with questions. You're constantly stepping into areas where you can't quite see everything, and your brain fills in the gaps, usually with something worse. And oftentimes there isn't anything. That's real psychological horror. The ability to make the player feel something when there is nothing to actually fear. Going back to what I said before, this game is about control. Grace feels vulnerable, restricted, and that creates fear. Then you step into the shoes of Leon S. Kennedy, and suddenly you feel capable, faster, stronger, more decisive. That contrast is powerful. It gives and then it takes away. It offers you comfort and strength with one hand, then fills you with dread, feeling almost neglected with the next. Much like the truly tremendous use and deliberate lack of use of music at times, it allows you time to feel, to breathe it in. The shadows approaching, the unexpected jumps, it's all so well calculated and deliberate. Because the game doesn't just scare you, it changes how you experience fear. It shows you both sides of it. So here's the bare vision final verdict for what it's worth. Resident Evil 9 isn't perfect. It's frustrating at times. It breaks immersion in small ways. It holds you back when you want to push forward. But that restraint is exactly why it works. This is a game that understands horror, not just visually, not just mechanically, but psychologically. It builds tension slowly, it earns its scares, and most importantly, it creates moments you don't forget. And for me, without nostalgia, without bias, that's what matters most. This is the new standard bearer for what modern psychological horror should be. The cheap scares and basic mechanics should be left in the past, making way for deeper story, more fleshed out psychology that actually impacts the player rather than a quick thrill. This newest entry has offered me something neither Biohazard or Village did, an urge, the desire to go back, to find out what I've missed out on. I think the addition of Leon's segments provided insight into the more true to older form rendition of what Resident Evil is. And now I want that experience. So maybe with Resident Evil 10, those added hints of historical flavour might land with me too. It will be interesting to see if your decision in the final moments of the game have any impact on the story going forward, whether your choice has actual consequences in subsequent installments of the franchise, or if it was just there for a final moment of tension. In closing, my experience with this game, having taken my time, immersed myself in it, has brought me to this simple conclusion. This isn't just a great modern Resident Evil game. It's the best-in-class, high-end horror, and has set a new standard of expectations. It's the kind of horror that stays with you, not because of what it shows you, but because of those moments, because of how it made you feel when there was nothing really there.